Some of you saw a fabulous audio-visual presentation about the fact that this meeting will be recorded and how to mute and unmute yourself. So hopefully everybody's organized and ready to go to allow me to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, Elaine Nieberding. Hey!
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, online presenters, replay viewers, honored guests, and anybody else here on the planet who wants to tune into this vibe of refreshment this evening. Earlier this afternoon, I learned we needed a Toastmaster of the day. I decided I'd step up. I'd make some lemons out of lemonade, and so I put out the call. Who can step on up and help me stir the pitcher so we can serve up something delightful and refreshing for everybody here tonight? And everybody has risen to the occasion, so I'm sure this is going to be one fine evening. So this evening we'll follow the format of all of our online presenters meetings. First, we're going to have 3 speeches. Then we will be having our table topics, impromptu responses to questions by our table topics master, David F. Carr, who is the charter president of this fine, distinguished president's club, Mr. David Carr. And then lastly, we have evaluations and reports by our role functionaries and some responses from our guests. So without further ado, I'm going to proceed in calling upon our different role people for the evening to tell us a little bit about what you'll do. Nick Licani, timer, tell us about your timing role, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Today, we're going to have some color in the timing. So, as long as I can actually get my screen to do the things I wanted to do. Bear with me. Oh, my word. Right. So, what we have is, if you have a look on the agenda, there are speeches and evaluations and also table topics as well. And each one of those has got 3 times on it. When the first time is reached, on my background, we're going to see the Grinch, just like that, in green, nice green color. Then when the middle time is reached, we're going to see a little bit of yellow or amber with this little Easter bunny. And then when the last time is reached, we're going to see a nice, warm, red helmet cover. So make sure that you can see my window on your screen. If anybody requires an audible cue, please ask me earlier. Finally, the prepared speeches are all going to be 5, 6, and 7 minutes today. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Nick Licani. Our odd counter this evening is going to be our Vice President of Education, John Quick. Tell us a little bit about your role, John.
Madam Toastmaster, I'll be listening for filler words like ahs and ums and ers and you knows and ands, lots of ands, things like this. And I'll be taking a reporting back to you later, also listening for lemonade recipes to be shared tonight. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, John Quick. And now on to grammarian Diane Rubino.
Hi, everybody. Today I am the grammarian, and what that means is I will be keeping track and seeing if there's any incorrect grammar. I also keep track for any special language that I hear that's really cool or interesting. And I will give you the word of the day, and I'm going to keep track of who uses it. It's prescriptive, not to be confused with proscriptive. Prescriptive is conveying specific directives, as in prescriptive advice. And that's what I'm going to be doing.
Thank you very much, Diane Rubino, our grammarian. Now on to our watcher, Monica Tucker. Tell us what the watcher does, Monica.
Thanks, Madam Toastmaster. As watcher, I will be watching what I call Brady Bunch squares to see how everybody looks within their little square and how their lighting is, and I will report back when I'm called upon.
Thank you so much, Monica. And now on to vote counter, Marianne Magner, who is new to this group and has stepped up and said, of course I can help. Marianne.
Hello, Toastmasters. My job today is to count all the votes. You're able to vote on speeches, on table topics, as well as evaluations. And I will be tallying those up at the end of the meeting.
Okay, and I would like to mention that those get sent to her via private chat at the end of each group that we are voting on. Next is David Carr, who's going to be our table topics master. Tell us a little bit about that, David.
At the appointed time, I will throw out some topics that our speakers have not had a chance to prepare for, and we'll see how they do.
Okay. And then our general evaluator for the evening will be Deborah Carr. Just tell us a little bit what the general evaluator does. Deborah?
Hi, everyone. Well, I will handle all the evaluations from getting the reports from the different people that are helping us out tonight, plus give an overview of tonight's meeting from my perspective. So that's what we're up to, or I'll be doing.
Thank you very much. I think I've covered everybody except Lou Brown, our Sergeant at Arms, and our chat monitor. Give it a whirl, Lou. Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day, evening, afternoon, depending where you're at. Arguably the most abstruse of our roles. Good word of the day for future grammarians. The chat monitor's duties are to monitor the chat. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
And now it's on with the show, meaning the speeches. And so this evening, our first speaker is Antoinette Trim. She is one of our international members hailing from Tobago. And she tells us she's preparing to be a lecturer in the field of psychology, you know, in a college setting, something like that. So she's preparing for that. But yet she's going to intrigue us tonight. How is she going to do that? Talking about a week in the life of Antoinette. And her evaluator is going to be Sybil. Thank you so much and welcome. Let's welcome Antoinette Trim.
Please unmute yourself, Antoinette.
Okay. I'll start over. A typical week in the life of Antoinette. Obviously, it will start on Sunday. So on Sunday, I will attend church. But before I do that, I would normally pick up 2 of my friends and take them to church. Now that distance will say about roughly about 10 minutes or so. In Tobago, that is a pretty long drive. I know in countries like y'all, 10 minutes is rather short. And after attending church, then I will return home and then go to teach Sunday school. And that's it for more or less on a Sunday. On Mondays, however, I will get up, get ready to attend work. My work is just 4 minutes away from home. That is driving at 80 km per hour. So you can see how the distance between my home and my workplace is very, very short. And a typical day at work, I will more or less distribute the mail. I will read my emails, provide responses, and what have you. I will also make, I have meetings with my manager, and she will give me what I have to do for the day at various times. So on Monday, that's it more or less at work, and I return home, and later on in the evening, I do online presenters. On Tuesdays, more or less the same, get up, you do your necessary preparations, go to work, and return from work, and then I go to, should I say, I go to aqua aerobics, which I do enjoy. It's just about 45 minutes or so of exercises, but I really look forward on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, more or less the same routine with respect to I awake, I go to work, I come back, I do my housework. Thursdays and Fridays, typically the same as well, except on Fridays, I also do aqua aerobics. That is kind of like a cool down party for me at aqua aerobics. Saturday and Sunday, Saturday, more or less doing housework and so. You may ask a question, what a typical week in Antoinette has to do with communication side? You would notice that I more or less have the same routine. So my friends know exactly where I am at any given time. And so I'm able to communicate quite well with my friends and colleagues. Angry with my friends because we often speak to each other. We use social media, for example, WhatsApp messages or even video. Essence, how we communicate with people can either make our lives miserable or it can improve our status in our life. This communication is a key tool towards building and maintaining relationships. Therefore, I employ everyone to be very mindful of how we communicate with each other, as no man is an island. Back to you, Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Antoinette. It's a pleasure to get to know you better and feel into the rhythm of some of your days and how that relates to communicating well. Thank you. Now we have, for speech number 2, our Vice President of Public Relations, Jacinta Watkins LaMontagne. She has already reached Competent Communicator, and she is on Presentation Mastery Level 5. But for this speech, called Developing Leaders, it is actually the first speech of her DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster Project. She says, being involved in the professional development of others is a priceless gift. Let's give a warm welcome to Jacinta.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I would like for everyone to take a moment to reflect. When you think about your life's journey, was there anyone who invested time to help you become the leader that you are today? I see several head nods. There is something to take into consideration as it relates to time. Time is precious. It's precious to the giver and it's precious to the receiver. Someone's helped you develop to become a leader that you are today. My goal is to help someone else become a leader as well. Today, I'm going to share with you a project that I'm working on with a few of my team members, go over the goals and the purpose of the project, highlight a couple of suggestions that you can take with you as you are developing leaders in your community and prepare you for what's to come. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is part 1 of 2 speeches that I will be delivering to you. The purpose of the Distinguished Toastmasters Project is to help an organization. Doesn't matter the organization, Toastmasters wants us to help the organization as a whole. Most of you know that I do work for a nonprofit organization, and I currently manage their dental program. Our program has grown significantly, and it's expanding very, 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 very quickly. So it's at the point where I need to make sure I'm developing leaders to help our company grow as big as I know that it can. The goal of the organization is to help other individuals have access to healthcare. And with that, you have to be able to deliver efficient care to your patients, because if you can't and you don't have the right leadership in place, then it makes it very difficult for our patient to be taken care of. I've identified 4 individuals within my organization who already have leadership characteristics, but need a bit of help in terms of developing their public speaking skills to help them become better leaders and better communicators for the organization. My goal is to help them, 1, to improve their ability to speak in public, and 2, to help them to become more comfortable in how they develop their speeches. The project itself has 5 levels to it. And I hope that when we review the project, you'll be able to take some information away to the next individual you choose to help develop to become a better leader. The first is a pre-assessment. The pre-assessment I will go into more detail in a few moments. That has helped to obtain a baseline so that we have an idea in terms of where are the speakers in terms of their speaking skills at the moment and where we expect them to grow. The next step is to provide them with 4 very interesting speaking opportunities within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go over that in more detail as well. They will be speaking in front of different types of audiences to help them with different challenges that may come up. The third part of the process is for them to review pre-recorded speeches. You may be wondering, what is that? Pre-recorded speeches are speeches I've developed and reviewed off of Toastmasters website that highlight different winners. Some are world champions of public speaking. Others are champions in table topics. We text each other the images and the videos. They review them and they respond back with feedback indicating, oh, I learned this last week to speak better. And I noticed that the speaker in the video did the same thing, to help have that constant communication with each other so that they are aware of what they're gaining and actually practicing it when they're going through their 4 speeches in different audiences. The next step is the post-assessment. The post-assessment will be very similar to the pre-assessment to gauge and see exactly how they've developed in their public speaking skills and their ability to develop speeches, which is very important as well. And last but not least, there's a 360 evaluation. How many of you are familiar with the 360 evaluation? Majority of the audience is raising their hands or shaking their heads. 360 evaluation gives an opportunity to evaluate myself as a leader and how they felt about the program. I mentioned that there is a survey that I provided to them. The survey itself, the very first question, this is included in the pre-assessment, asks the participant, do you feel comfortable speaking in public? The font may be a bit small from what I can see here, and I apologize for that, but there's one individual that was very interested and was able to speak in public, felt comfortable doing so. The remainder of the participants were pretty nervous. They didn't feel too comfortable doing so. That was the first survey question. The second survey question was, how comfortable are you in developing a speech? As you see, there's different colors here, and that indicates the responses were across the board in terms of what they wanted to, what they felt comfortable in terms of being able to do. Now, the exciting part of the project is the 4 speeches that they're going to be delivering. 4 of the speeches are gauged, and the purpose of them is to provide some structured environment to help them become better speakers. First, 2 of the speeches are already done. One was completed August the 8th. The other speeches were completed August the 15th. They speak in front of a very small audience of 4 people first. They have the opportunity to prepare a speech, or they have an opportunity to complete impromptu speeches. Just depends on what they feel like they want to do that day. Now, the next speech on August the 22nd will be with a group of 35 individuals. That's a lot of people, 35 people. And that will give them a chance to work with individuals they know, but in a larger group setting. Now, the last speech that they have will be with a Toastmasters group, a group of individuals they've never seen before, and that will give them the opportunity to work on impromptu speaking to make sure that they have the skills they need to think on their feet and answer the questions very carefully and properly. There's many things that I've observed about this particular group. The group itself, they're very well-spoken. They are very organized in terms of their thought process, which is the reason why we're thinking about them being speakers. They have great eye contact, but it just needs some fine-tuning. I'm looking forward to giving you more information about the future in terms of the project so that you can understand how you can take some of those tips away and develop leaders in your community. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jacinta. So if I was in your organization, I'd be quite inspired by your energy and I think willing to rise to the challenge of developing my speaking skills. Well done. So right now, I would love to, let me unpin Jacinta here so that I can see my gallery again. Hold on, folks. Well, unpin video. There we go. Right now, I would like to welcome Graham Carnes, distinguished Toastmaster. He's from down under. And he has a most unusual type of speech this evening. He is working on another competent communication manual, and one where all of the speeches have to be relatively impromptu. So it was just before the start of our meeting that he got assigned by me, the topic for the evening, which is the experience of being totally unprepared. So let's see how he handles that one. And I give to you, let's give a warm welcome to Graham Carnes.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, this is, after all is said and done, a training-based club. And so I'll start with something that is relevant to this club. One of the first Train the Trainer sessions I ever undertook started with us being asked to make a hot drink for a fellow participant. But we were only allowed to ask what was required once. And after that, there could be no further questions. The idea, of course, was to show us that you needed specific instructions. You know, should the milk go in before the hot water? How many sugars, if any? How much milk? All that sort of thing. But it's more than that. It's a reminder that no matter how simple a task is, it's never quite that easy. I mean, we went to a hole-in-the-wall eatery in Ho Chi Minh City a couple of years ago, and we ordered a meal. We knew what we expected, but what we got was something entirely different. We ordered butterfish with mango, and we expected it to be a sort of sweet white fish covered with a mango sauce. No. What we actually got was a deep fried fish, complete with the head and the tail, covered with green papaya and mango salad. Now, it was delicious, but it wasn't what we were expecting. It was a case where words simply weren't enough. A picture or a diagram would have been really useful. And as trainers, that's something that we should be aware of. Sometimes we need to have a picture, a diagram, some form of presentation to remind us that words are not our only tools. We're hardwired as multimedia creatures, so use whatever mediums work best for you. But don't forget that you do have to get your ideas across. And sometimes it comes down to pure luck, whether it works or not. Remember that cup of coffee that I mentioned a moment ago? Well, it was never drunk because it was entirely unsatisfactory to the other participant. Turns out that I assumed that they wanted coffee, when in fact they wanted tea, and so it didn't work. Now, I mention this in terms of being totally unprepared because with just a little extra effort, I could have got that right. But I didn't do that little extra effort. I was unprepared. And it's a cliche that prior preparation prevents poor performance. But just because it's a cliche does not mean that it's not true. Over the years, I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of truly successful presentations, for example, that resulted from the presenter winging it. Oh, we've all seen cases where something was apparently off the cuff, but in fact, every time the presenter had the material in their repertoire, what's often referred to as a hip pocket speech, ready to be pulled out for the specific audience. It's almost impossible to deliver a meaningful presentation unless you have at least some idea of what it is that you're talking about. Fake it till you make it is a strategy which you often hear about, but it's not particularly sound for a speaker. At least one person in the audience is going to know that you're faking it, and that damages your credibility. You are a fraud. It is in our own interest to make sure that we are, for example, across all of the major issues in our industry, so that if we're called upon to make a presentation, we'll at least have some knowledge. And that brings me to table topics, which is either the love or loathing of many Toastmasters. I genuinely like table topics because it is the most real world example of speaking. Your boss is rarely going to ask you to give a 7-minute presentation to your board on an issue, but he is quite often going to ask you to give an update on the latest developments to your group. That's why table topics are so important. Impromptu speaking is so important, but you should never go into it totally unprepared, which is what we're talking about today. There are strategies, and I'll give you some for Toastmasters table topics. Many of you will have heard of these, but it's worth running through them. One is the that was, this is, this will be strategy. If somebody gives you a topic that you're asked to speak about, talk about what was the case in the past. Sorry, from your perspective, what was the case in the past, what is the case now, and what will be the case if this change is made. Or what's the issue here? What's the solution? And how do we get to it? So if you're given a topic that lends itself to that, think to yourself, okay, what is the issue? How do we deal with it? And then what is the result from that? One that I really like to see done in table topics is the circular discussion. That's where you start out with a premise and then you go off apparently on a tangent, but you bring it all back again in a 360-degree, not a 360-degree evaluation like Jacinda is facing, but a 360-degree table topic, because they're good fun and everybody laughs at the end. But then again, there are some things where you cannot be prepared for. Show of hands here, parents. Who went into parenthood knowing absolutely everything that you needed to know about raising your children? I didn't think so. No, some things you cannot know everything about. Be prepared under those circumstances to admit that you are unprepared. But most importantly, be prepared to go out and look for assistance. Ask your friends, your relatives, your parents, your family. They'll probably give you conflicting advice, but at least you can cherry pick from that something which will suit you. So if you're unprepared, make yourself prepared. But the other thing is, be prepared to go to outside sources. I did a quick Google when I was given this topic on what to do if you have a job interview and you are not prepared for it. And I found a whole lot of resources, one of which was pretty good. Conduct some basic interview research. So find out about the company that you're applying for, do a bit of information, find out who specifically you're going to be talking to about that. Another one is work out what you're supposed to wear. Get directions so that you get to the office. Anyone ever been to a meeting where you suddenly find you're on your way and you think, oh, hang on, I'm at the wrong address? Yeah, that's being not prepared. So do all that sort of preparation and help. Be prepared to ask for help. Be prepared to deal with things when they go wrong. Oh, and on the subject of being prepared to deal with things when they go wrong, you may note that I am currently sitting here talking to you on my mobile phone rather than with the nice pretty background that I normally have. That's because just as this meeting got underway, my computer froze and then crashed and then decided it needed to do a Windows update before it would let me in to do anything. Fortunately, I was prepared. I had installed Zoom onto my phone for just this sort of circumstance. So ladies and gentlemen, being totally unprepared does not mean disaster, but if it is disaster, be prepared to ask for help. Madam Toastmaster.
Indeed, Graham, we are so happy that you prepared your iPhone so that we could see this evening. That way, table topics will be at a reasonable length and not an unreasonable length. David should be relieved. Thank you so much. Right now, I would like to call on our timer, Nick Lakhani. Did each of our speakers qualify for being included in the voting for Best Speaker?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. If you have a look on the chat, I've actually put the times in there. Antoinette was 4 minutes and 10, which I believe by the rules of the club, that is a little bit low, so probably out of the voting. Jacinta was 7 minutes 26, and Graham 7 minutes and 12, and both of them qualify for voting. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
So I invite all attendees, please send your vote, either Jacinta or Graham, to our vote counter, Mary Ann, for the evening. And with that, it is now time to move on to table topics, and I turn it on over to you, Mr. David Carr.
Well, thank you, Elaine. And thank you for also allowing me to cheat this evening. Elaine actually fed me a whole bunch of questions related to lemons and lemonade. So we're going to be hearing a fair amount about that. The other thing that struck me in that context of making lemonade out of lemonade is the motto of the girls' school my daughter recently graduated from, which is function in disaster, finish in style. I thought that that is the sort of thing that you need to be prepared to do when everything goes wrong with a speech contest. So Lois Margolin, can you tell us how you make lemons into lemonade when things go wrong in a speech contest?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. Well, if you have been at a speech contest, I can guarantee you there have been problems. The trick is the sleight of hand. Did you see it happen? Did it just bypass you so quickly? I have seen some really interesting things in speech contests, and I gotta tell you, I actually sat there going, what do we do about this? But there is always someone who can help you with this. For instance, I was a chief judge, probably wasn't ready to be a chief judge, and one of the ballots said the the second place winner is the woman in the red dress. And I just went, oh, well, I know who that was. And the other ballot counters looked at me like, we can't use that. So now I'm trying to look all sophisticated and, yep, I was just testing you to make sure that you were right. It's amazing the things that can crop up at a speech contest. The wrong people get announced as the winners, or people that are ineligible because they were contestants in another area contest. Oops, all of this happens, but the trick to running a good speech contest is planning and execution. And when the disaster hits, because it will, have a backup plan. Have extra forms, have pens, have everything you can possibly think of. But when it's all said and done, have your sanity, because that's what it's all about. Mr. Table Topic Master.
All right, thank you, Lois. Also occurs to me that limoncello is a wonderful alcoholic drink made of vodka infused with lemon. You shake it up with some ice and some pomegranate juice and throw in some extra vodka and you have a wonderful martini. But if limoncello was, as it sounds like it could be, a musical instrument, what sort of instrument would it be and how would you play it? Evan, how do you play the limoncello?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I own a doTERRA essential oils business. The #1 selling oil in all of doTERRA is the lemon oil. We have 8 million people signed up in doTERRA, and they might sell 1 million bottles of lemon every day. The way I would use the limoncello is I would flavor all my drinks with the lemon oil, and you drink the vodka with the lemon oil, right? It would just be pure lemon oil with vodka, and you drink it, and you go to a piano and you play whatever you can, and whatever comes out would be your limoncello song. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master.
All right. Very good. I like that. But I'm still trying to imagine a limoncello as a musical instrument. Jimmy Dent, how do you play the limoncello?
You play it just like any other cello. The limoncello just happens to be in the shape of a lemon, and it's yellow. So it's a limoncello. Then, of course, some people look at it, it doesn't quite sound like a regular cello. It doesn't feel like a regular cello, so it must be a lemon. You ever buy a lemon car? You know, I've got a lemon out in the parking lot right now. I've been working on it for 2 days trying to replace the brake light switch. It's way up underneath the dash, and I've watched videos on YouTube, and it looks real easy until you get underneath there and you can't even see it. But it's a vision thing, a limoncello. It's a unique cello, something a little different. It has a little different tone because the body's in the shape of a lemon. It's more rounded instead of flat. And so it has a different tone, but it still fits in well with an orchestra. So that's what a limoncello is. It's a cello that looks and appears like a lemon.
All right. As long as you don't get like sticky fingers from trying to play the limoncello, I'm imagining it squirting all over the place.
That's another whole matter.
Tell us about something you acquired that sadly was quite a lemon. Lou Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Graham just gave me a good idea for that because I had quite a lemon when it came to one of my laptops not all that long ago. And, you know, actually, now that I think about it, it very well could be because of the Windows system versus the laptop itself. Because same thing, it would crash a lot. It would be a little, take so long to boot up, etc. But, you know, I have to say, though, one thing about that lemon laptop that I had is that I at least could get YouTube and I could listen to the limoncello. I don't know if you knew this, but they were a big boy band in the 90s, the limoncello. So all this talk about instruments and maybe flavored instruments. No, I thought all of you would know that limoncello was a big boy band in the 90s. You may have heard some of their tunes like, hello, hello, we're limoncello. Or don't be mellow, listen to limoncello. Does that not ring a bell with any of you? Come on. I mean, it's right up there with NSYNC and New Kids on the Block. The thing about them, though, that I really found a little odd is that sometimes they bend the rules and it came to their rhythmic beats and their lyrics. They would say stuff like, lay your head on your pillow and listen to limoncello. I'm like, you know, that doesn't really cut it. It's not pillow, it's pillow. Or they'd even screw up some names. They'd be like, I Dream a Genie because of Dr. Bello. That is why I like to listen to limoncello. I'm like, it's bellows, not bellows. So you can't really take those liberties when it comes to things like that. But, you know, that's really the least of their concerns. But they were very popular. And again, you just got to YouTube it. Go online and look up limoncello, a very popular boy band from the 90s. And if it wasn't for that lemon laptop, I never would have realized the existence of limoncello.
All right. Thank you, Lou. So you're 6 years old. Just put yourself, travel back in time. You're 6 years old. You're all set to have a lemonade stand. Your parents have given permission. You got the stand set up out front, but you get to the store and there are no lemons. What is your plan B? Monica.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Well, I'm 6 years old and I'm really excited about my lemonade stand, but I don't have any lemons to make them with. So my mom takes me to the store and lo and behold, there's oranges. We can have orange juice. I'll have an orange juice stand. and it will take the place of the lemons, but then I have to go back and replan the cookies that I was going to serve with them, because oranges and lemons, one sweet, one sour. So maybe I'll change the cookies at the same time, and my lemonade stand, while I don't have the lemons to make it work, I will have the oranges and do fresh squeezed orange juice and serve it over ice. And I believe that I will have a successful orange stand. Mr. Table Topics Master.
All right. Toastmaster of the day, how are we doing? Should we do more? Or? We can't hear you. Should we wrap it up there?
That looked like a one more to me.
Your table topic is, do you know how to unmute your computer?
We have time for one or two more.
All right. How about just one? Let's see. If you woke up, you went to the mirror and saw that your eyes and skin were very yellow as lemons, what would you do? Deborah Carr. Deborah, no relation Carr, you've just turned yellow. What do you do?
Knowing me as a naturalist, I probably wouldn't worry about it. If my eyes were real yellow, I might think about what I ate over the last 24 hours. I might do a scan, energy scan of my body, and just say, screw it. If I'm and drink a lot of water and sea salt, and just see what happens in the next few hours. You know, I'm not worried about too many things, to be honest. However, the limoncello, although I don't drink anymore, just only by choice, but man, my good friend she used to make homemade, and it was just so wonderful. And she even made ice pops with it and everything else. It was just great. And listening to that, or listening to, you know, country music or banjos with it, nothing like it around the fireplace or around the fire pit. We had some great times. So if my eyes turn yellow, they're just going to have to stay that way for the time being. Figure it out later and detox. Back to you, Master.
Okay.
Table Topics Master.
All right. She said we could do one more.
Mm-hmm.
How about lemon is acidic, and sometimes it's used to soften food and marinades, give tang for dressing and sauces. Tell me about the uses of lemon in cooking, John Quick. How do you use lemon in cooking? Or how would you like lemon to be used in cooking?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. I'm glad you called on me because I want to play the new theme song video for the club. And in 1 minute, we should be able to watch it twice. I just got to figure out how to play it.
Very quiet so far.
Here it comes. I'm not ready now. It's all, you know what gets me is that share computer audio. There we go, perfect.
Okay.
Ready.
All right.
Mr. Topics Master.
I'm not sure that counts as a table topic, but timer. Mr. Timer, can you give us timing on everything except for John, who did his own thing?
Thank you very much, Mr. Topic Master. I'm just about to paste this into the chat. The first person to speak was Lois, and she spoke for 1 minute 35. Evan was 56 seconds. Jimmy was 1 minute 14. Lou was 1 minute 59. Monica, 49 seconds. Deborah, 1 minute 10. And John, just because he's John, 1 minute 20. So all of them qualify for voting. Back to you, Mr. Table Topic Master.
All right. So you have your list, your assigned list of folks to vote for. Thanks to everybody who played the game.
Point of clarification, please. I will ask the president, Lois. Lois, do we need to have our speakers for table topics reach 1 minute?
For table topics?
Yeah.
Yeah, table topics, they should reach 1 minute.
Right. So therefore, Lois would qualify, Deborah would qualify, Lou would qualify, and Jim would qualify. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So please send your vote to Marianne for either Lois, Deborah Carr, Lewis, or Jim Dent, please. And with that, I would now like to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator, Miss Deborah Carr.
Thank you, and we are ready for the evaluation section of our meeting. So, let's see, who was it? Sybil. I didn't write it down after I had the other notes. Sybil was the evaluator tonight for Antoinette. So, Sybil, if you will give us your evaluation, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, General Evaluator. It is my pleasure to evaluate Antoinette for her speech. And she basically was focusing on incorporating feedback from the last speech that she gave. And that was asking her to incorporate more of her personal life into the speech rather than just stating facts. And I think you did that really well, Antoinette. And I wanted to basically talk about what you've done as a to bring out the strong statement. So you started off with a strong introduction and a strong conclusion. No man is an island, so you ended it with that. And basically, I thought with those statements that you could have built it out a little bit more. We wanted to, I think it would have helped if you said why. Why were you giving the speech about your personal life? I know that you said you were incorporating feedback, but how is that related to your communication style? And I believe that was the subject of your speech. And other than that, I kind of wanted to know what your communication style was, because I know there's 4 or 5 different styles, and I didn't quite pick up which one was your strongest communication style. And other than just building out transitions and stating more of the why, I think the speech was strong. I really loved hearing about your weekly routines and schedules. It was really interesting. I could picture you picking up your friend on your way to church and all these things. And it was a very visual story.
Sybil, unfortunately, you hit your mute button. So if you'll unmute, please.
Oops, sorry. So I think in conclusion, if you just made your introduction really distinct from your body and made your conclusion distinct from the main body, I think it would have been a much stronger speech. But all in all, I enjoyed hearing about your routines and your life, and I was picturing all the stories and the storytelling. You used those skills really well. Thank you, Antoinette.
And thank you, Sybil. Next, we had Janisa had spoke on developing leaders, and Jim Barber was the evaluator. Jim, take it away.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. My fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests, and especially, of course, Toastmaster Jacinta. The evaluation form for this particular project says the member should strive to achieve exemplary rating on everything. That is an incredibly high standard, but congratulations, Jacinta. By and large, you made it. In general, you were conversational and engaging. I liked that. You were engaging in large part because you have such effective eye contact with the camera. You were looking into everybody's eyes. We felt that way. You also either didn't use notes or your use of notes was so effective that we didn't notice that you were reading. Very well done, whichever way you did it. I loved the use of a green screen for producing your slides. That was well done. The transitions were wonderful. Everything was great. I've got more to talk about that in a moment, but I liked the general technique that you used. The best thing though, and this is going to be largely meaningful to Jacinta because of a conversation that we had earlier, but for everybody, when Jacinta asked a question of the audience, I don't remember what the question was, but how many people do this? And a lot of speakers do that. And what they'll do afterwards is they'll keep on talking. And you shouldn't do that. After you ask a question and people raise their hands or whatever, repeat what you saw. You can say, well, I see most of you did this, or most of you feel this way, or whatever. And Jacinta did that, and that was great. The reason why it's important that you do that is you might have visually impaired people in your audience. And if they can't see what everybody is doing, if they can't see how many people are raising their hands, they don't know unless you tell them. So it's your responsibility whenever you ask a question of the audience that they respond visually, that you tell people what it is that you saw. And Jacinta, again, you did that and you did it perfectly. Congratulations. I have two suggestions for you. Back on your slides, I loved the technique of using a green screen as your slides, but sometimes the text was too small to read. It could be read in speaker view, but if you went to gallery view, you couldn't read it. And a couple of cases, it really wasn't visible in speaker view. So make your text larger. Don't give us pictures of words in general. And if you do, don't have many words per slide. The second thing, and this is a very minor thing, but you have in your earbuds, you have a white cord, and it's against black clothing, which makes it kind of stand out, but it's also distracting. So if you're in that situation, you might try running your earbuds, as I have done, behind your head like that, so that they don't drape around in front. It'll be a little bit less distracting. It's a little minor thing, but it's something that you can give a try to. There you go, just like that. Like our grammarian Diane is doing right now. But that's a small thing. This was a great presentation, Jacinta, and I'm looking forward to the second one. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. And for speaker number 3, which is Graham, we have Tiger. Are you ready, Tiger?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And it is my honor to give an evaluation for Graham Phone, not to be mistaken with Graham Carnes. This was an excellent example of turning lemons into lemonade for a couple reasons. Number one, it was impromptu, which, as we all know, can be difficult just for a minute or two, much less for a 5 to 7 minute speech. And the other thing is that he had to use his phone as opposed to his computer, which is a completely different media. It was an engaging speech. I looked at the Brady Bunch and I noticed that all of you were listening, smiling, nodding your heads, very engaged. Graham, you did an excellent job with your hand gestures, despite the fact that you're on your phone. And of course, your voice is very strong. It was organized, which again is hard to do in an impromptu speech, and that was the idea behind your speech, was to be an organized speech. I do have a couple of suggestions, and I will try to be prescriptive. Number one, when you get rolling, you tend to go really fast. Now, for the younger generation, that's probably okay, but I'm old and I'm slightly deaf, and I want to hear every word, but sometimes your pace gets a little bit overwhelming for me. The other thing is on your phone, and of course this is something that you don't use very often as a media, but your phone was moving around. So a couple times it was kind of distracting. It's like one of those bad movies that you watch, like the person's doing this. So anyway, if you're going to use a phone, you got to try and stabilize as much as possible. But an excellent job, Graham, as always. And thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. It's all yours.
Thank you. And Nick, if you will pop the times into the chat box, please. And did the three evaluators, did the three evaluators all come in the right time, on time? There they are. Sybil at 2:59, Jim at 3:20, and Tiger at 2:05. Everyone did qualify. And so if you will please send your vote to Marianne, that would be great. And we're going to move forward. For the evaluations next in line, I'm going to ask for each one of the helpers to help us out, to give us their feedback. So John Quick, would you please tell us about the hours tonight and all the filler words?
Madam General Evaluator, one thing I noticed when Jacinta asked her first question at the beginning of the speech, who's had a mentor who's helped him with leadership, there was a long there after it was answered. I think with that, you got to be ready to dive in and just say, yes, half the audience answered, or what have you. And as Jim picked up on, you did that with the second one really well. The second question you had, you were prepared and you already said, yes, half the people, and you gave us the audio cue, because again, we can't see what's going on. So the first one, you were caught off guard. The second one, you demonstrated it really well. So actually, we got both halves and a good lesson tonight. So I want everybody to be aware of that. I heard some interesting combo words today. There was an and so, then there was an and ah, and my favorite ever now is the mua. Some say it's French, but I say mua. That was interesting to me today. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, John. And Diane, you were a grammarian tonight. How did everyone do?
Everyone did great, but I still have a few specific ideas. Prescriptive was the word of the day, and Tiger was the one who used it during his speech. So thank you, Tiger. In terms of, I'm just going to go in the order of which you presented, make some observations, nothing prescriptive, just suggestive. I noticed, Jacinta, you stumbled over to help to develop a better leader, but the phrasing of it was confusing. And you also said something to the effect of some structure, environment to speak in. And maybe I missed something, but it seemed disjointed. It is disjointed. Elaine, you use the expression down under, and because I think that in the United States, people use that, but if we're in an international setting, which we are, people may not be familiar with that colloquialism. Graham, in the context of discussing, and then you kind of trailed off, we're hardwired to do something, but I missed what you were trying to say. Maybe it was because it was too fast. I'm not certain. And I also thought that the use of boss with a male pronoun, maybe you could say him or her, would be more effective in 2019. And there was also do a bit of information, which I don't understand. Let's see, Jimmy Dent. Nothing. I was just writing down what you were saying. It looks and appears like a lemon. I think that I was trying to tell myself it's either looks or appears like a lemon. Pick one. Lou Brown, it would be a little, and then you trailed off. I didn't, and then you came right back with it would be a little, and then it takes a long time. So you obviously had a different thought and you went in another direction. Let's see, Sybil, what you've done rather than, you said what you done rather than what you've done. I kind of want to know, I want to know. And then there's this phrase, other than building out transitions, and I'm not clear what you mean by building out. Deborah, I believe you pronounced Jacinta's name incorrectly. Jim Barber, you had some really good advice, and I really want to hear what you were saying about working in an audience where people might be visually impaired, but there was a lot of verbiage there, and it was hard to make out what you were trying to say, and I hope that we have a chance to hear that advice again at some later point. And that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And next we have our watcher, which is Monica.
Thank you. We had some really good backgrounds, David, Lois, and I love the lemons with Elaine and Jim. And there were a couple of instances. Tiger, you have a really bright light source, I think, on your right-hand side, and it's making you kind of washed out on screen. And Antoinette, you're off center, and I kept waiting during your speech for you to put up some pictures or something, but you never did. So I don't know if that's your intention or not, but it is kind of off center to where you should be, or at least where I think you should be. We had a couple of people, we got to see nose views, what I call nose views. Graham, when you switched from computer to phone, it was up close and personal for a minute. And there was, Diane, you adjusted your camera after we got going. At first it was upwards, and there was a bright light source behind you, but then you readjusted. So it got better as you played with your different area of light and the camera. And that's pretty much all I saw. Evan, a couple of times you did walk around your house, and we could see you moving around in your shirt and everything. So if you're doing that, maybe cut the camera off so we don't see the movement. And several people did that really well. Back to you.
Thank you. And our chat monitor is Lou Brown.
Thank you, General Evaluator. We had a very good use of the chat box, by the way. It wasn't overwhelming and it wasn't underwhelming. Chat going on at the right times, I guess I'll say, so as not to interrupt speakers, etc. Grant provided a link to an Irish folk group called the Limoncello, so kind of interesting there. Antoinette filled us in on some regional dialect in terms of use of rough lemons in Trinidad and Tobago. Jimmy Dent showed us that there is a website theme called Limoncello, I guess in WordPress. And Dave provided some useful information about our upcoming educational program on November 4th featuring Jesse Cinto. So if you haven't gone to the chat box, he posted a lot of information there. Please check it out. General Evaluator.
Thank you. And you can save the chat if there's a thing down here on the bottom. You can just click that and you can save that, if you want to, for the links, and it can be sent. I think it's sent right to your email, isn't it, David?
No, actually, I think usually you save it to your computer.
No,
but it's just a text file.
Either way, it'll get to you.
Yep. Yeah.
So
actually, I think Diane might. Well, I'm sorry. Let me let you finish.
No, go ahead.
Diane, I understand do you work with Jesse or?
He's my boyfriend.
Oh.
He lives here.
Okay.
He's not here right now.
Yeah. He said partner, and I thought business partner. Or I actually thought maybe it could have been the other thing too, but didn't want to make assumptions. Anyway, So that should be good.
So please be sure that you have voted for the best speaker, best table topics, and the best evaluator. If you haven't, if you got busy and you haven't, if you'll send those right across to Marianne, that would be absolutely great. Nick, you did just a great job with putting everything into the chat and keeping us right on top of all the times. Do you have anything to add at all, Nick?
He was having problems with his
Thank you,
audio.
Madam General Evaluator.
There he is.
Oh no, I'm back. Yeah, for about 10 minutes I couldn't hear anything. So what I was going on was when people started speaking and when their lips started moving, I started timing. So yeah, so I couldn't hear anything for a while. So apologies for that.
No, you did a great job timing tonight, and I love the creative, things that you had. So I can give my wrap up, which I felt really great that we started on time, as we have with this extra little window that we've added to our meetings. I just love it because it's not so hurried, and we just have, to me, we have a much better flow of all our meetings. I love the lemonade and everybody popping in and just jumping to the, right at 7:30, we're filling those spots right away of anything that's residual that needs to be done. And although we had cats and birds starting out, I was really wondering if Marianne's cat would start, staring into the camera looking for something, for a bird or not. But anyway, that along with, I have a smoke alarm that just keeps chirping because the battery's going. So with all of it to start out, it was rather humorous. I felt all the speeches were wonderful. We learned a lot about each person. And then the table topics, they're always interesting, they're always fun, and we never know how they're going to end up. And that limoncello really brought back to mind, especially about my friend, making, all those ice pops and everything that she did. The other part too, so please count that, is I really enjoyed how quickly Nick got all the times right into the chat, and especially how it was lined up. So the speakers were interesting. Everything was just fun, and I really enjoyed tonight's meeting. So if we have the drum roll, please, from Marianne, so if we can please have, first of all, the best table topics.
Best table topics was Lou.
Good. And the best evaluator?
Best evaluator was Jim Barber.
Congratulations, Lou. Congratulations, Jim. And drum roll, and the best speaker tonight.
It was a very, very close game, but Jacinta won.
Okay, and thank you. We're ending up a little bit early. And Evan, do you have anything that you'd like to add and tell us about your experience here tonight?
Yes. I said before that I had done Toastmasters for a couple of years, and I was worried a bit about a online club because a couple different things I didn't think could be replicated. I didn't think that the hangout sessions that happened before and after the club, where you just kind of freely talk and hang out, I didn't think that was possible, but it is with this 30-minute window before. And then the nerves of speaking in front of people, I didn't think that could be replicated because it's just a camera, but it was when I spoke, right? And then I think that was it, but the professionalism, I didn't think that could be replicated because everyone is exactly equal. No one takes the stage and then walks away from the stage and there's no handshake, but it's equally professional. So this is equally good, if not better than an in-person meeting. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our wonderful Toastmaster who stepped to the plate today. Elaine, it's up to you.
This was a grand meeting. We had great speeches. Once again, I congratulate Nick Lacani for his most creative way of continuing to do timing, even though he couldn't hear us. our most lively participation by everyone. And so glad to see Lois Margolin, who I thought wasn't going to show up at all, and then she even got to chime in about the challenges of running a contest. That was great to hear. So I'd like to now turn it on over to you, Lois, to wind up our evening.
Thank you, Elaine. This was a fun meeting. My apologies for being a few minutes late. Evan, I am glad that you are warmly welcome. And Rainey, we didn't get to hear from you. Did you enjoy it? And we still might not be hearing from you. Okay, we're off and running. Couple of things of note. 8/24, that is this Saturday. We have 5 speakers, Jacinta, Antoinette, Norman, Clarissa, and Christian. We have room for 1 more speaker. Does anybody want to be a speaker on the speechathon on Saturday? Okay, I will put out an email. We also desperately need a timer. So if somebody's just laying around on Saturday, doesn't want to speak but wants to be a timer, we would love to have you help us. Okay, going on. 8/26, we need a Toastmaster of the Day. Who has not been a Toastmaster of the Day for a while? Deborah Carr, would you be our Toastmaster of the Day? Thank you ever so much. Deborah Carr. David already mentioned that we have Jesse for November 4th. We are also looking for a speaker towards the end of September because our goal is to have 1 each quarter. If you know of a speaker, I know David has some really good names on the hook, and I'm anxious to find out what ends up happening. But if you have someone, please let David know. And if it's not in September, it will be at the first part of the next year. And lastly, welcome to Mary Ann, our newest member. Yay! I haven't seen you on the scroll board, but I know you've been getting all of your paperwork in, so welcome. We are so happy to have you as our newest member. That finishes it up for me. I would like to open the floor to any comments, questions, concerns from our members. John, anything? Oh, anything to add, John?
I won't be here next week. I'm going to Legoland.
Oh, have fun. It is so awesome. I love Legoland. Have a great time.
Thank you.
I'm really
David.
glad,
We've
personally.
got some awards coming in too, but I think
Yes.
we'll get that in PR.
Yeah, I was going to say who.
More and some even higher awards. So there's going to be some excitement around the club in the upcoming weeks and months.
I agree. Deborah, did you have something to say?
Well, once again, we're just 2 minutes from close, and you can just see there's such a difference since we expanded the meeting. Just, just that little bit really made a difference. And it's just more relaxed, and we're not, so it's great. I'm glad we've done this.
All right. Evan, there was a comment in there that we would love to see you coming back. You have less than 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, I would love to come back. 2 things is I have no idea how Pathways works. Number 2 is I have no idea how to manipulate my screen, like to do a timer or any sort of background. So those 2 things.
All right.
I would love to come back.
If you stay on afterwards at 9 o'clock, we can address some of those. I think those are great ideas for you. I would also like to tell everybody that we do have a number of open roles for next week. Please go online, make Deborah's job easy. Deborah will put in a theme of the day and a word of the day. David Carr, are you going to be here next Monday? Because I have somewhere else I'm going to be.
I think I'll probably be driving, actually. I'm dropping a kid off at college this weekend. So.
Okay, well then I'm going to go to the board and I will put out an email to all the board members to find out who's going to go ahead and control the meeting for next week.
I will.
And all right, Jacinta, we'll send you the instructions on how to do the recording and you'll be on around 7:15 to welcome everyone. I love when a team gets together like this. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you all. If there are no other comments, oh, the annual conference is happening right now. Do we have anybody with a dog in the race? No? Well, I know Roger is there talking about online clubs on Saturday. So hopefully he's advocating for us to have TLIs online. With nothing else, we will see you all.
I'm going to be involved in that. We're going to be doing a virtual aspect of Roger's presentation, and I'm going to be co-hosting that.
Wonderful. I'm
Very
so
cool.
glad he got somebody from our club to help him. All right, this is it. It's official 9 o'clock. David, you can, or John, whoever's recording, we can end the recording.